So we're finally going to get to spin some wrenches on our S2000. We got back from the track a couple of days ago where it got whooped on pretty good by that big Jag F-Type. We saw about a 10-second differential, so we've got a bunch of work to do to make this car faster. We're going to start with wheels and tires, coilover suspension and brakes. That should take a pretty big bite out of that 10-second gap, but there's only one way to find out. We'll bolt stuff up, we'll go back to the track and see where we are.
First up, it's time to replace those crusty, rusted rotors with some high-performance hardware.
So I just removed the stock worn-out S2000 rotor, and in its place is the Stoptech Sport rotor. These improve cooling while the slots deglaze the brake pads. Speaking of, we've got ourselves a set of Stoptech brake pads as well. These are street performance pads, so we're not sure how they're gonna work at the racetrack, but we're gonna test them out and find out.
Like most brake jobs, this one's straightforward. However, if you do a lot of lapping, it's smart to remove the dust shields because they trap heat.
So why did we just pull off the old skanky rubber brake line and we're replacing it with this braided line from Stoptech? Two reasons really. One is for safety. The rubber lines can get nicked at the track and you can actually have a catastrophic brake failure. The braided lines are much tougher, much less likely to get nicked. So there's the safety aspect, but there's also the brake feel aspect. These braided lines don't expand and contract as much, so it gives you a firmer brake pedal feel, and at the racetrack that's a good thing. We also bolted up Eibach's anti-roll kit featuring front and rear sway bars that are two-way adjustable so we can fine-tune the handling balance. So this is Eibach's Multi-Pro R2 coilover. This is their top-of-the-line unit, independently adjustable for compression and rebound, monotube dampers that are damped quite aggressively, so you can think of them as sort of like a club sport application. So although they're usable on the street, they're really designed more for the racetrack. They're going to give you that maximum grip and control at the track. They should bolt straight up to the car, so let's slap them on here and see how it goes.
As expected, these made in the USA coilovers fit like a glove. As for the remote reservoirs, these bad boys are a direct fit, requiring zero drilling and cutting. And bam, we're done. Eibach coilovers installed. Now how about those wheels and tires?
We went with the Gramlights Xtreme57 Extreme in a 17x9 plus 40 offset. We really like them because they've got some aggressive dish to them, and the spokes have a really nice aggressive design that we like too, but we've discovered that to get that dish you need a wide wheel, and man, we are sticking out past the fenders quite a bit with these 255 4017 Hankook RS3s. The internet assured us that these would fit with a little light massaging of the fenders and relocating a bracket in the rear wheel well, but man, it looks like we got a lot more work to do than that. We're gonna bust out the heat guns and the fender rollers and really roll and pull these as much as we can to make it fit. Hopefully we don't destroy the fender in the process. They're kind of wrecked anyway, so it's not a big deal if we do wreck them, but yeah, we'd prefer not to have to buy a new set of fenders.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled program for this important rant.
This is what happens when you buy a rusted automobile.
What do you mean?
Nothing comes loose. We're gonna be fighting with this for the next 3 hours. I can sense it. The ASS2000 once again has lived up to its name.
So what's the problem?
Rust. Rust, my friend. This car's been driven too many winters.
I got the 19.
So therefore, it's just so rusted that nothing wants to break loose. The outer tie rod bolt right now is seized on the rod. So I'm trying to heat it up in hopes that I can actually get it to rotate.
And what about the camber, Pete?
Well, the 19 feet.
We're not even gonna go into the camber right now because it's completely, the subframe's so screwed on the ASS2000 that, well, you can't adjust it either because it's welded up solid. The bolt, yeah, this thing's not gonna go.
We now return to your regular programming.
Alright people, brace yourselves because this ain't gonna be pretty. Rolling and pulling fenders takes practice and skill. There are varying methods, but here's how we do it. As you just saw, you gotta heat up the area with a propane torch or heat gun. The Eastwood fender roller is your best friend. It's the least destructive tool for the job, and if used properly, it massages those fenders like a champ, as our fender rolling guru, Ken Wagon, demonstrates here.
Yeah, that area, there you go.
We went way past the rolling stage though, and leveled up to pulling them, which is pretty much changing the entire curvature of the fender. The results are more function than form, but the tires fit, so mission accomplished. The rears required much of the same technique as the fronts. However, there's a bolt that holds the rear bumper in place that needs to be relocated further back, and the bumper needs a slight trim as well. So the internet was right. Some light massaging and these wheels do fit.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
All right, so we are on our way to the track to test out all the new parts we just bolted up. And how do you like the ride quality, Pete?
Feels pretty good. The Multi-Pro R2s are very compliant on the street. They almost feel stock-like, which is really nice and surprising for such a performance-oriented suspension system.
So the tires, the wheels and tires, they look great on the car, by the way. The car's lowered and the fenders are rolled. It looks really aggressive now. I like it. I guess the other thing is, are the brakes going to fade on us or not? I mean, looking at the specs, it's pretty much a straight street pad. So I suspect we're going to get brake fade in a lap or two, but again, we'll find out.
All right, well, we're just about there. We're gonna park, get some tire pressures, set the car up, and we're gonna go from there.
Yeah, man, let's do it. We've used Hankook's super sticky Ventus RS3 tires before, so we had a pretty good idea that they'd need about 40 psi hot. So we set up the cold pressures and hit the track.
Okay,
All right,
here we
let's get
go.
this party started.
First
ASS2000.
track drive on
Track
the new
test one.
setup. Feels really good. Little bit of clutch slip, but we'll deal with that later.
See how the brakes do. Brakes actually feel pretty good. I'm impressed. For what's really a pure street pad, pretty good bite.
And man, the suspension feels good, real good. That was like a 5/10 corner. And it looks like it's got plenty left in it. So it's a lot better rotation. S2000 feels way more neutral than it did in the past. Obviously, the Hankooks really bite, which is nice.
Trail braking really comes around, but that's not a bad thing. It's actually pretty neutral. It's a little looser than you might want in a car that you're not really used to yet, but it's actually very well balanced. It's rotating very willingly, but it's not hard to catch it when it starts to step out.
I gotta say, what a transformation. Man, this is not the ASS2000 that I am used to. It drives so much better on the track. Like, just the combination of the suspension and tires, you know, even just the brake pads, which are street pads, they just all work so well right now. And it gives you the confidence to drive this car at 10/10ths. Man, and it rotates exceptionally well. It's such a well-balanced chassis too, you know? No wonder people love this car so much. I'm already in love, and we've just begun.
We just did a 126, and I think Pete was doing a 131 when the car was stock. So just feeling the car out, we've already gone 5 seconds faster. So man, that's not a bad start at all. And I think with some adjustments to damper settings, maybe stiffen up the front sway bar, get some more heat in the tires, we could easily go another second or two quicker just with this set of mods alone. So yeah, I mean, our goal was to go 120, starting at a 131, and we're already into a 126. So I think by the end of the day, we'll be into the 125s, and that's gonna look pretty darn good. So I made some adjustments to the dampers, Pete, and to me, the car felt really good. How did it feel to you?
Felt fantastic, like such a well-balanced chassis. I mean, with the new suspension and the wheels and the brakes, which are a little bit mushy, but overall the package is fantastic already.
Yeah, and once the tires came up to temperature, man, the car had a lot of grip. So what kind of lap time did you do?
Well, I ran a 1:24.1.
Wow.
Which is an incredible 7 seconds ahead of our previous lap time.
Yeah, which sounds like a lot since our target was only to knock 11 seconds off to catch that Jag. But the truth is, it's a lot easier to get those first 7 seconds than it's going to be to get those last 4 seconds. You know, you throw in the tires and the suspension and you immediately go faster. But to go faster from there, what do we do next? Well, we got to start adding power, which on this car is tricky to do. And to knock 4 seconds off on power alone, I mean, you need a big chunk of it. So we got a lot of fine tuning to do to get those 4 seconds, as well as adding a bunch of power.
So we've made a good big jump, but now to kind of bring it in is going to be pretty difficult.
The challenge still lays ahead, kids. Lots of work still to do here. We said we're going to beat the Jag F-Type V8 S for less than a third of its cost, meaning we've got a budget of around 30 grand. As you can see, we spent a little under 6 grand on this first set of upgrades, and when you add that to what we paid for the S2K, we're into it for a hair over 10 grand so far. We've still got a long way to go to catch that Jag, but before we can start bolting on the power adders, we really need to replace that slipping clutch and free up those seized alignment adjusters. Need a clap or not? Do the Dan. Why do some guys do a million claps? I don't know.